The realtor's smile wavered as Ryan Hill handed over the check. "Are you absolutely certain about this, Mr. Hill? There are other properties I could show you." Ryan pocketed the keys, ignoring the woman's concerned expression. At 35, he'd grown tired of people questioning his decisions. "It's perfect," he said firmly, though perfect wasn't quite the word for the aging Victorian on Maple Drive. Affordable was more accurate. Escape even better. The house loomed before them, its faded blue paint and sagging shutters a testament to years of neglect. But beneath the wear, Ryan saw potential, or maybe just blessed isolation. "The price is just—" The realtor hesitated. "Exactly what I need," Ryan cut in. "Sometimes a bargain is just a bargain, Mrs. Thompson." She didn't look convinced, but nodded. "Well, if you're sure. Remember, the basement needs some work. The previous owner never allowed inspections down there, claiming it was his private workspace." Ryan barely heard her, already planning where his furniture would go. After Sarah left, taking half their belongings and all his certainty about relationships, he'd been living in a cramped apartment that felt more like a cage than a home. This house, despite its flaws, represented freedom. "Thank you," he said, effectively ending the conversation. Mrs. Thompson lingered a moment longer before retreating to her car, leaving Ryan alone with his new purchase. The late afternoon sun cast long shadows across the wraparound porch as he climbed the creaking steps. The key stuck slightly in the lock, another item for his growing to-do list, but then the door swung open with a dramatic groan. Inside, dust motes danced in the rays of sunlight streaming through grimy windows. The hardwood floors, though scratched, were solid beneath his feet. High ceilings gave the space an airy feel, despite the musty smell of disuse. "Home, sweet home," Ryan muttered, his voice echoing slightly in the empty rooms. He spent the next few hours directing the movers, watching as his life was reassembled piece by piece in the old house. Each box unpacked felt like another step away from his failed marriage. By sunset, he had the basics set up: bed, couch, TV, coffee maker. The rest could wait. The silence of the house pressed in on him as he ate dinner, take-out Chinese food straight from the container while sitting on his newly positioned couch. The house creaked and settled around him, unfamiliar sounds in an unfamiliar space. It wasn't until he was crushing the empty containers that Ryan remembered the basement. He found the door tucked away in a corner of the kitchen, its ancient hinges protesting as he pulled it open. The beam of his flashlight revealed steep wooden stairs descending into darkness. The air coming up from below felt oddly cool and different. Clean almost, with a faint metallic tang that reminded him of the air just before a thunderstorm. Ryan's hand found a light switch, but nothing happened. "Add electrical work to the list," he sighed, starting down the stairs. Each step creaked under his weight, the sound echoing in the darkness below. The basement was surprisingly large, extending under the entire house. His flashlight beam caught glimpses of old shelving units and what looked like scientific equipment covered in sheets. But what drew his attention was the object in the center of the room. At first, Ryan thought it was some kind of art installation, a sleek metallic pod about 7 feet long, hovering slightly above the concrete floor. No, not hovering. It was supported by delicate legs that seemed to pulse with a faint blue light. The surface was unlike any metal he'd ever seen, seeming to shift and flow like liquid mercury. "What the hell?" As if in response to his voice, the pod emitted a soft hum. Lines of light appeared along its surface, forming intricate patterns that reminded Ryan of circuit boards. The humming grew louder, resonating in his chest, and before he could decide whether to run or stay, the top of the pod began to split open with a hydraulic hiss. Steam or mist spilled out, and within it, something moved. Ryan stumbled backward, his flashlight beam dancing wildly across the ceiling. When he managed to steady it, the light illuminated a sight that stopped his breath. A woman was emerging from the pod, her skin a striking shade of blue that seemed to shimmer in the darkness, like sunlight through tropical waters. Long pink hair floated around her as if underwater, despite the fact that she was standing. She wore what appeared to be a form-fitting suit made of an iridescent material that shifted colors as she moved, clinging to curves that made Ryan's mouth go dry. Her eyes opened, a mesmerizing violet with flecks of silver that seemed to capture and reflect the flashlight's beam. They fixed on Ryan with an intensity that made his heart skip a beat. A smile curved her full lips, revealing perfect white teeth. "Hello, husband," she said in a melodious voice that seemed to bypass his ears and go straight to his spine. "I've been waiting for you." Ryan's flashlight clattered to the floor, rolling until it illuminated the pod from below, casting strange shadows up the walls. He backed away until he hit one of the sheet-covered pieces of equipment. "I'm not. This isn't. Who are you?" The woman stepped out of the pod with fluid grace, each movement precise and elegant. Her bare feet made no sound on the concrete floor. "My name is Ayla," she said, taking another step toward him. "And you are Ryan Hill, are you not? How do you know my name?" His voice came out higher than intended. He cleared his throat, trying to regain some composure. "Look, I don't know what's going on here, but there's clearly been some mistake." Ayla tilted her head, her pink hair cascading over one shoulder. "There is no mistake. The pod brought me to you. It was programmed to find my perfect match, and here you are." She gestured around the basement. "You bought this house. You found me. Everything is proceeding exactly as it should." "As it should," Ryan laughed, a slightly hysterical edge to the sound. "Nothing about this is how anything should be. There's an alien. You are an alien, right? In my basement claiming I'm her husband. This isn't normal." "Normal is relative," Ayla said, moving closer still. Her violet eyes sparkled with amusement. "And I find your species' conception of normal to be quite limiting. Also, I prefer the term non-terrestrial life form, though alien is technically accurate." Ryan's mind raced, trying to make sense of the situation. "So what? You've just been waiting down here? How long? Why?" "Time is also relative," she said, now close enough that he could see the subtle patterns in her blue skin, like frost on a window. "But by your Earth measurements, I've been in the stasis for approximately 57 years, waiting for the right person to purchase this house." 57? Ryan shook his head. "This is insane. I need to call someone. The police or NASA or—" Ayla's hand shot out, faster than he could track, and gently pressed against his chest. A warm, tingling sensation spread from the point of contact. "You don't need to call anyone, Ryan. What you need is to breathe and listen. Can you do that for me?" He found himself nodding, mesmerized by the way her eyes seemed to hold entire galaxies within them. The panic receded, replaced by a strange calm that he wasn't entirely sure was natural. "Good," she smiled. "Now shall we go upstairs where it's more comfortable? I have much to tell you, and this basement isn't the most suitable place for such discussions." Yes?" Ryan said, though it came out more like a question. "Excellent." Ayla lowered her hand, and Ryan immediately missed the warmth of her touch. "And perhaps you could make some of that beverage I smell? Coffee, is it? I've been quite curious about it." Ryan watched, dumbfounded, as she gracefully ascended the stairs, her hair swaying with each step. He glanced back at the pod, half expecting it to have vanished like a dream, but it was still there, humming softly in the darkness. "Are you coming, husband?" Ayla called from above. Don't call me that," he managed, following her up the stairs on unsteady legs. "I'm not your husband." Her laughter floated down to him, light and musical. "Not yet, perhaps. But destiny has a way of surprising us, doesn't it?" As Ryan emerged from the basement, he found Ayla standing in his kitchen, examining the coffee maker with intense curiosity. The overhead lights made her skin glow like sapphires, and for a moment, he forgot to breathe. "This is really happening," he muttered to himself. "I've actually lost my mind." "Your mind is perfectly intact," Ayla assured him, turning to face him with that mysterious smile. "Though I suspect it's about to be expanded considerably." She gestured to the coffee maker. "Now, shall we begin our discussion? I find that ceremonial beverages often help facilitate important conversations in many cultures." Ryan moved to the coffee maker on autopilot, his mind still trying to process the fact that he was about to have coffee with an alien who claimed to be his wife. As he measured out the grounds, he couldn't help but wonder if maybe, just maybe, the suspiciously low price of the house should have been a bigger warning sign. As Ryan prepared the coffee, Ayla explored his kitchen with childlike wonder. Her delicate fingers traced the edges of countertops, lingering over the smooth surface of the refrigerator. When the coffee maker began to gurgle, she jumped slightly, then laughed at her own reaction. "Your technology is so mechanical," she observed, watching the dark liquid drip into the pot. "Fascinating in its simplicity." Ryan leaned against the counter, trying to maintain some semblance of normalcy. "As opposed to what? Your pod down there? The stasis chamber?" Ayla's violet eyes sparkled. "That's bioorganic technology. It grows and adapts. Your machines just do what they're told." She wrinkled her nose. "Rather boring, really." "Right, because alien tech that grows is totally normal." Ryan rubbed his temples. "Look, we need to talk about this husband thing. There's clearly been a mistake." Ayla moved closer, and Ryan caught a subtle scent like night-blooming jasmine. "No mistake," she said softly. "The pod's genetic compatibility matrices are never wrong. We were meant to find each other." "Genetic compatibility. Listen, I just got divorced. I'm not looking for—" "Sarah Thompson," Ayla interrupted. "Your ex-wife. She left you 6 months ago for her yoga instructor." At Ryan's shocked expression, she added, "The pod analyzed your entire life history while you were signing the paperwork for the house. Very inefficient system, by the way, all that paper." Ryan set down the empty coffee mug he'd been holding before he dropped it. That's private information. You can't judge." "Privacy is a very Earth concept," Ayla said, reaching past him to pick up the mug. Her arm brushed against his, sending tingles through his skin. "Among my people, complete knowledge of potential mates is considered essential. For example, I know you hate cilantro. You secretly enjoyed the romantic comedies Sarah made you watch, and you've always wondered if you should have pursued music instead of accounting." "Stop!" Ryan stepped back, creating some distance between them. "Just stop. This is too much." Something flickered in Ayla's expression. Concern, perhaps, or understanding. She set the mug down gently. "I'm overwhelming you. I apologize. Sometimes I forget how. Gradual humans prefer things to be." The coffee maker beeped, breaking the tension. Ryan gratefully busied himself with pouring 2 cups, adding cream and sugar to his own. "How do you take your coffee?" "However you think best," Ayla said, watching him intently. "This is a learning experience for me." He prepared her cup the same as his, then led her to the living room. They sat on opposite ends of his couch, Ayla curling her legs underneath her with fluid grace. She took a careful sip of coffee and her eyes widened. "Oh, this is interesting. The molecular structure is quite stimulating." She took another sip. "I can feel it interacting with my cellular matrix already." "Right," Ryan said weakly. "Look, can we back up a bit? You said you've been waiting for 57 years. Why? What happened to your people?" Ayla's expression grew somber. "My civilization was facing extinction, not from war or disease, but from evolution itself. We had advanced so far that we were losing our physical forms, ascending to a higher plane of existence." She traced the rim of her coffee cup. "Some of us believed this was a mistake, that there was value in maintaining our corporeal nature, in experiencing life in all its messy physical glory. So they sent you here? To Earth?" "They sent many of us to many worlds," she corrected, "in pods programmed to find compatible mates, to preserve what we were while creating something new." Her violet eyes met his. "Your house was built by one of our human allies, designed to hide the pod until the right person came along?" Ryan set his coffee down. "And you think I'm the right person?" "I know you are." Ayla leaned forward, her pink hair falling like a curtain around her face. "The pod wouldn't have awakened for anyone else. Your genetic structure, your psychological profile, even your emotional wavelength, they all match perfectly with mine. That's—" Ryan struggled for words. "That's a lot of pressure to put on someone you just met." Ayla laughed, the sound like wind chimes in a breeze. "Perhaps, but consider this. You bought this specific house despite your realtor's concerns. You felt drawn to it, did you not? Some part of you knew." Ryan wanted to deny it, but he couldn't. There had been something about the house, a pull he couldn't explain. He'd attributed it to his desire for a fresh start. But now, I need time, he said finally, to process all this. Of course. Ayla stood gracefully, her iridescent suit catching the light. I'll just go check on my plants then. Your plants? What plants? She gestured to the empty corners of the living room. The ones I just seeded while we were talking. They should be sprouting right about. Suddenly, points of blue-green light began appearing along the walls. Tiny crystalline structures emerged from seemingly nowhere, growing and branching like frost patterns on glass. Within minutes, delicate luminescent vines had created an ethereal pattern around the room. Now, Ayla finished with a satisfied smile, they'll help clean the air and provide ambient lighting. Plus, they're quite good at neutralizing negative energy. Ryan stared at the glowing plants, then at Ayla, then back at the plants. I need something stronger than coffee. Oh, would you like me to synthesize something? I know several compounds that... No, Ryan said quickly. No alien compounds. Just normal human alcohol. Ayla's expression brightened. Ah, ethanol-based beverages. I've studied those. Though I should warn you, my metabolism might interact interestingly with... Actually, Ryan interrupted, standing up, I think I need to lie down. It's been a lot. Of course, Ayla nodded understandingly. I'll just finish setting up my environmental modifications. Don't worry about the basement. I'll need to reconfigure the pod systems anyway. Ryan headed toward the stairs, then paused. You'll still be here when I wake up, won't you? This isn't some weird dream. Ayla's smile was radiant. I'll be here, Ryan. After all, where else would a wife be but in her home? Not my wife, he muttered, climbing the stairs. Not yet, Ayla's musical voice followed him. But you'll see. Some things are simply meant to be. In his bedroom, Ryan collapsed onto his bed fully clothed. Through his window, he could see the sun setting, painting the sky in shades of purple and pink that reminded him of Ayla's hair. From downstairs came the soft sounds of movement and occasional musical notes that might have been Ayla humming. My life has become a sci-fi romance, he said to the ceiling. A blue alien woman is redecorating my house with glowing plants. Somewhere below, something made a chiming sound, followed by what might have been Ayla saying, "Oops," in a language that made his ears tingle. Ryan grabbed a pillow and pressed it over his face. Tomorrow, he decided. Tomorrow he'd figure out what to do about his unexpected alien wife. Tonight, he just needed to sleep and hope that either this was all a dream or that he hadn't made the biggest mistake of his life buying this house. As he drifted off, the last thing he heard was Ayla's voice, soft and melodic, singing what sounded like a lullaby in that strange, beautiful language of hers. Despite himself, Ryan smiled as sleep took him. Whatever else happened, at least life wouldn't be boring anymore. The next morning, Ryan woke to the smell of something impossibly delicious wafting up from his kitchen. For a moment, he lay in bed, trying to convince himself that yesterday had been a dream. Then he heard humming, that otherworldly melody that could only belong to one being, Ayla, his alleged alien wife. He groaned and dragged himself out of bed, still wearing yesterday's clothes. The house felt different, alive somehow. The air was fresher, and there was a subtle vibration in the walls, like a contented purr. As he descended the stairs, he noticed more changes. The bioluminescent vines had spread, creating intricate patterns that pulsed gently with blue-green light. They should have looked alien and threatening, but instead they gave the old house a magical quality. In the kitchen, he found Ayla. She'd somehow transformed her iridescent suit into something resembling a sundress, though the material still shifted colors with her movements. Her blue skin seemed to glow in the morning light, and her pink hair was elaborately braided with what looked like tiny glowing flowers. "Good morning, husband," she called cheerfully, not turning from whatever she was doing at the stove. "Not your husband," Ryan replied automatically, though with less conviction than yesterday. It was hard to maintain his skepticism when she looked so. "Right," standing in his kitchen. "The food substance you call bacon is fascinating," Ayla continued, ignoring his protest. "Did you know it contains 171 different flavor compounds? I've been experimenting with enhancing certain ones while neutralizing the less beneficial elements." Ryan approached cautiously. On the counter were several plates of what looked like normal breakfast foods, but something was off. The bacon had a slight purple tinge, the eggs seemed to shimmer, and the toast. Is that toast glowing? Just a slight bioluminescent enhancement, Ayla said proudly. Completely safe for human consumption. I've adjusted it to provide optimal nutrient absorption and added some mild mood elevators. You, drugged my breakfast? Ayla turned to him, violet eyes wide with concern. Oh, no, nothing artificial, just natural compounds to promote well-being, similar to your Earth chocolate, but more efficient. Before Ryan could respond, a distinct humming sound filled the air. Ayla's expression shifted to one of concern. What's that? Ryan asked. Scanner sweep, she muttered, moving to the window. Military grade, but trying to be subtle about it. She waved her hand, and the bioluminescent vines pulsed briefly. There, that should mask our energy signature. Our what? Ryan joined her at the window. A black van was parked across the street, looking suspiciously inconspicuous. Please tell me that's not what I think it is. If you think it's a covert government organization that monitors unusual energy signatures and potential extraterrestrial activity, then I'm afraid I can't tell you that. Ayla smiled apologetically. They're really quite primitive in their methods, though. Nothing to worry about. Ryan ran his hands through his hair. Nothing to worry about? There are government agents watching my house. Our house, Ayla corrected absently, still studying the van. And yes, this was expected. Why do you think the pod remained undetected for so long? The house has built-in countermeasures. Watch. She placed her hand against the wall, and suddenly the bioluminescent vines dimmed to near invisibility. The humming sound faded. There, she said, satisfaction. As far as their instruments are concerned, we're just another suburban home with slightly outdated wiring. Ryan was about to argue that nothing about this situation was just another anything when his phone rang. He checked the display and felt his stomach drop. It's Mike, he said. Your best friend since college, works in software development, secretly wishes he'd pursued his dream of becoming a chef? Ayla asked brightly. Stop doing that, Ryan hissed, then answered the phone. Hey, Mike. Dude, why didn't you tell me you moved in yesterday? I had to hear it from Sarah, of all people. Ryan winced. Yeah, sorry, it was kinda last minute. Well, I'm bringing coffee and donuts. Be there in 10. Can't wait to see this mysterious house you got such a great deal on. Wait, Mike, now's not really... But Mike had already hung up. Ryan turned to Ayla, panic rising. You need to hide, she tilted her head. Why? Why? Because you're blue, and your hair is pink, and everything is glowing. Ah, Ayla nodded thoughtfully. You're concerned about maintaining social norms and preventing potential exposure. Don't worry, I can help with that. She closed her eyes in concentration, and suddenly her skin began to shift. The blue faded to a more human tone, though still with an ethereal quality. Her hair darkened to a more natural shade of red. Better? She asked, opening her eyes, which were now a more standard green, though still with those mesmerizing silver flecks. Ryan gaped at her. You could do that the whole time? Of course not. I had to analyze your planet's dominant phenotypes first. The pod helped with that. She frowned slightly. I can only maintain this appearance for a few hours, though. It's rather energy intensive. Okay. Ryan took a deep breath. But what about... He gestured to the glowing vines. Oh, those are easy. Ayla waved her hand, and all the bioluminescent plants seemed to fade into the background, becoming nearly invisible unless you knew where to look. They'll stay dormant until your friend leaves. Before Ryan could question her further, there was a knock at the door. Mike's voice called out, Hey! Open up, I come bearing caffeine. Ryan shot Ayla a panicked look. She just smiled encouragingly and whispered, Don't worry. I've studied Earth customs extensively. I know how to act normal. Somehow that wasn't reassuring at all. With a deep breath, Ryan opened the door. Mike burst in, carrying a tray of coffee cups and a box of donuts. Man, this place is... Mike trailed off as he spotted Ayla. Oh, hello. Hello, Ayla said brightly, then caught herself and modulated her tone to something more human. I mean, hi, I'm Ayla, Ryan's friend. Ryan cut in quickly. She's a friend who's staying with me, temporarily. Mike's eyebrows shot up. A friend? Already? Damn, you move fast for a guy who swore off relationships. It's not like that, Ryan protested, just as Ayla said. Oh, we're much more than friends. Mike looked between them, grinning. Oh, really? Ryan could feel his carefully constructed explanation falling apart. Ayla moved closer to him, and despite her human appearance, that jasmine scent still surrounded her. Ryan and I have a special connection, she said, laying her hand on Ryan's arm. The touch sent warmth spreading through his body, making it hard to think clearly. I can see that, Mike said, his grin widening. So how did you two meet? In the basement, Ayla replied honestly, causing Ryan to choke on air. I was waiting for him there. Mike blinked. Waiting in the basement? She means at the real estate office, Ryan jumped in. She worked there, as a consultant. Interior design specialist, Ayla added smoothly. I'm helping Ryan make the house more livable. As if on cue, one of the dormant vines near Mike briefly flickered with blue light. Mike turned toward the movement, but the vine was already dark again. Did you see that? He asked, frowning. See what? Ryan said too quickly. I could have sworn. Mike shook his head. Never mind. Must be the weird lighting in here. He set down the coffee and donuts. Speaking of which, what's with the decor? It feels different. Experimental bioorganic lighting solutions, Ayla said proudly, then caught Ryan's panicked look. I mean LED strips, very energy efficient. Mike wandered into the living room, looking around curiously. Every now and then, a vine would pulse faintly as he passed, like the house was tracking his movements. It's certainly unique, he said finally. Very atmospheric. Thank you, Ayla beamed. I've been working on the atmospheric modification all night. Ryan coughed loudly. She means the mood lighting. Very standard stuff. Nothing modified here. Mike gave him an odd look. Right. Well, I brought breakfast, but it looks like you've already got that covered. He gestured to the kitchen where Ayla's experimental breakfast still sat. Oh yes, I've been experimenting with your earth food, Ayla said enthusiastically. Would you like to try my enhanced coffee? Ryan interrupted desperately. Let's have the coffee Mike brought. Normal, regular coffee. But Mike was already examining the slightly purple bacon with interest. Enhanced how, exactly? Well, I adjusted the molecular structure to optimize the flavor compounds while neutralizing the less beneficial elements, Ayla explained, and added some mild mood elevators similar to your earth chalk. Ryan clapped his hands together loudly. So, Mike, how's work? Any interesting projects? But Mike wasn't listening. He was staring at a vine that had definitely just changed from blue to pink as he approached it. Okay, what is going on here? He demanded. First, there's a mysterious woman in your house who talks weird. I'm still calibrating my colloquialisms, Ayla muttered. Then there's glowing walls and color-changing plants, and now there's mood-altering bacon? Mike turned to Ryan. Dude, what aren't you telling me? Ryan looked at Ayla helplessly. She met his gaze and something passed between them. A connection he couldn't explain but couldn't deny either. Perhaps, she said softly, we should tell him the truth. The truth? Ryan laughed nervously. What truth? There's no truth. Everything is completely normal here. At that moment, as if the universe itself had a sense of irony, the black van across the street started its scanner sweep again. The house hummed in response, and every single bioluminescent vine blazed to life at once, filling the room with pulsing blue-green light. Mike's jaw dropped. What the... And that's when Ayla's human disguise began to flicker. Mike stumbled backward as Ayla's appearance flickered between human and alien, her skin shifting from pale to blue, her hair cycling between red and pink. The bioluminescent vines pulsed in sync with her transformation, casting ever-changing shadows across the room. I can explain, Ryan started, though he had no idea how. Maintaining this form is quite draining, Ayla said apologetically, letting her human disguise fade completely. She stood there in her natural state, blue skin shimmering, pink hair floating as if caught in an invisible breeze, violet eyes glowing with inner light. Mike made a sound that might have been a squeak. Your girlfriend is blue. She's not my girlfriend, Ryan said automatically, even as his heart skipped a beat looking at her. There was something captivating about seeing her in her true form, a beauty that transcended human standards. I'm his wife, Ayla corrected cheerfully. Not my wife either. But even as he said it, Ryan felt that now familiar warmth spread through him at her words. He was starting to recognize it wasn't just some alien influence. It was his own reaction to her presence. Mike collapsed onto the couch, still staring at Ayla. Okay, okay, someone better start explaining, preferably from the beginning. And please tell me that bacon isn't going to turn me into something, not human. Oh, the bacon is perfectly safe, Ayla assured him, sitting gracefully in an armchair. The vines near her brightened, creating a soft halo effect that made her look even more ethereal. I would never harm Ryan's closest friend. That would be counterproductive to establishing a healthy family dynamic. We're not a family, Ryan protested weakly, but found himself moving to sit beside her anyway. Something about her pulled at him, like gravity, and he was becoming less and less interested in fighting it. Over the next hour, they explained everything to Mike. The pod, Ayla's mission, the government surveillance. Well, Ayla explained most of it. Ryan was too distracted by the way she gestured when she spoke, how her eyes lit up with excitement, the musical quality of her laugh when Mike asked if she could phone home. ET references? Really? Ryan found himself smiling despite the situation. That's the best you can do? Hey, I'm processing the fact that my best friend has an alien wife, Mike defended. I'm allowed some classic movie callbacks. Not his wife, Ryan said. But this time Ayla caught his eye and smiled that knowing smile that made his pulse race. Yet, she said softly, and Ryan felt his face heat up. Mike looked between them and grinned. Oh man, you're totally falling for her, aren't you? What? No, I'm just... Ryan struggled to find words as Ayla turned those mesmerizing violet eyes on him. I'm being affected by some kind of alien thing. The only alien thing affecting you is called attraction, Ayla said, reaching out to touch his hand. That now familiar warmth spread through him, but this time he recognized it for what it was. Chemistry, plain and simple, albeit with an extraterrestrial twist. You have to admit, Mike said, helping himself to a piece of the glowing toast, she's pretty amazing. I mean, she made mood-enhancing bacon. And these plants? He gestured at the bioluminescent vines. This is some next-level interior decorating. The plants react to emotional energy, Ayla explained. See how they're turning pink near Ryan? That indicates romantic attraction. Ryan looked up sharply, and sure enough, the vines nearest him had taken on a distinct rosy hue. They do not. They're just malfunctioning. The house's systems are operating perfectly, Ayla said with a slight smirk. They're simply reflecting what's already there. Mike snickered. Dude, even your house is calling you out. Before Ryan could respond, the humming sound from outside intensified. Ayla's expression turned serious. The surveillance team is increasing their scan power, she said, standing. I need to reinforce our shields. She moved to the wall, placing her hand against it. The vines responded immediately, their light dimming to almost nothing. But Ryan couldn't take his eyes off her. The way she moved, the confidence in her actions, the slight furrow of concentration between her brows. Everything about her fascinated him. You're staring, Mike whispered, nudging him. I'm not, Ryan whispered back, but he was. He couldn't help it. In just over 24 hours, this incredible being had turned his world upside down, and he was starting to think that might not be such a bad thing. There, Ayla said, turning back to them. That should keep them confused for a while. She smiled at Ryan, and his heart did that skipping thing again. Though we might want to consider implementing some more permanent solutions. Together. The way she said together made Ryan's mouth go dry. He found himself nodding before he even realized what he was agreeing to. Mike stood up, brushing toast crumbs off his shirt. Well, I think that's my cue to leave. You two clearly have some home improvements to discuss. He winked at Ryan. Just remember to invite me to the wedding. The real one, I mean, since apparently you're already alien married. We're not. Ryan started to protest, but Ayla had moved closer to him again, and suddenly he couldn't remember what he was objecting to. "I'll walk you out," Ayla offered, leading Mike to the door. As they passed through the living room, the vines continued to shift between blue and pink, creating a dazzling light show. "You know," Mike said at the door, "when Sarah left, I was worried about you, man. But now," he glanced at Ayla, then back at Ryan, "I think you might have actually traded up. Way up, like intergalactic up." After Mike left, Ayla turned to Ryan with that radiant smile that was becoming his favorite sight in any galaxy. "Your friend took that remarkably well," she said. "Yeah, well, Mike's always been." Ryan trailed off as she moved closer, her jasmine scent enveloping him. The vines around them pulsed pink, betraying his emotions. "Been what?" she asked softly, those violet eyes capturing his. "Been," Ryan swallowed hard. "Been good at seeing what I sometimes can't." "And what do you see now, Ryan?" Ayla's voice was barely a whisper, but it seemed to resonate through his entire being. He looked at her, really looked at her, at the way her blue skin seemed to shimmer with its own inner light, how her pink hair floated around her face like a celestial crown, how those incredible eyes seemed to see right through to his soul. But more than that, he saw her intelligence, her humor, her caring nature. In just one day, she turned his empty house into something magical, his routine life into an adventure. "I see you," he said finally, surprising himself with his honesty. "And I'm starting to think maybe the pod wasn't wrong after all." Ayla's smile could have lit up a solar system. "So you're admitting I might be your wife?" "Let's start with dinner," Ryan said, but he was smiling too. "A real date. No mood-altering bacon." "I make no promises about the dessert," Ayla teased, and the vines around them blazed with pink light so bright it was almost blinding. As Ryan looked at her, surrounded by the glow of their combined emotions, he realized he didn't mind at all. Sometimes the best things in life came in unexpected packages, even if that package was a blue-skinned alien who'd been waiting for him in his basement. The restaurant Ryan chose for their first date was intimate and dimly lit, perfect for a blue-skinned alien trying to maintain a human disguise. Ayla sat across from him, her now auburn hair catching the candlelight, her borrowed dress slightly shimmering in a way that couldn't quite pass for normal sequins. "So," Ryan said, trying to ignore how the silverware kept gravitating toward her whenever she moved, "tell me about your world." Ayla's green-disguised eyes darkened. "It was beautiful once. Cities that grew from crystal, oceans that sang at sunset, buildings that danced with their inhabitants' emotions." She paused as their waiter approached. "Are you ready to order?" the young man asked, his pen hovering over his pad. His eyes kept drifting to Ayla, clearly sensing something different about her. "The steak, please," Ryan said quickly. "And for my friend, I'll have what the molecular scanner suggests would be least likely to react with my altered physiology," Ayla said brightly. At Ryan's panicked look, she added, "I mean, the salmon." After the bewildered waiter left, Ryan leaned forward. "We need to work on your public interactions." "Your Earth customs are confusing," Ayla pouted. "Why pretend we don't have technology to analyze food compatibility? And why do humans stare so much? That's the third person who's been watching me for an extended period." Ryan glanced around. She was right. Several diners were stealing curious looks their way. Even with her human disguise, something about Ayla drew attention. Maybe it was the way she moved, too fluid to be entirely natural, or how her skin seemed to catch the light at impossible angles. "You're beautiful," he said honestly. "People notice beautiful things." The water glasses on their table vibrated as Ayla's control slipped slightly, her true form flickering for just a moment. "You think I'm beautiful?" "I think you're incredible," Ryan admitted, surprising himself with his candor. "And a little terrifying." Ayla laughed, the sound making the candle flames dance. "You should be terrified. Do you know how many of your Earth years I waited in that pod? How many potential matches it rejected before finding you?" "About that," Ryan said, seizing the opening. "You never finished telling me what happened to your people?" The playfulness faded from Ayla's expression. "We evolved too fast," she said softly, "pushed our development beyond what our physical forms could sustain. Most of my people chose to ascend, becoming pure energy beings. But some of us believed that was a mistake. Why? Because we were losing what made us real, the ability to touch, to taste, to feel. Her hand found his across the table, that now familiar warmth spreading through his arm. To love. Before Ryan could respond, their food arrived. He watched in fascination as Ayla examined her salmon, with what he was pretty sure was some kind of invisible scanner behind her eyes. Compatible, she declared finally, picking up her fork, though it could use some enhancement. No enhancements, Ryan said firmly. Remember what happened with the bacon? Mike enjoyed it. Mike glowed for 3 hours. A minor side effect, Ayla waved her free hand dismissively. And very flattering lighting, I thought. Ryan couldn't help but smile. Everything about her was simultaneously alien and endearing. The way she approached each human experience with such enthusiasm, even when she got it completely wrong. How she could shift from discussing the fate of her civilization to being excited about Earth food in the same breath. Their dinner was interrupted by Ryan's phone buzzing. He checked it and frowned. Everything okay? Ayla asked, setting down her fork. Text from the neighbors, the Petersons. They're inviting us to their barbecue this weekend. He looked up at her. We don't have to go. A gathering of local humans? Ayla's eyes lit up with interest. That would be an excellent opportunity to study social dynamics. I promise to maintain my disguise. Like you're maintaining it now? Ryan nodded toward her hand, which had turned distinctly blue around the edges. Ayla quickly adjusted her appearance. A minor fluctuation. I was excited about the salmon. As they left the restaurant later, Ryan noticed a black van parked across the street. His heart rate spiked, but Ayla squeezed his hand reassuringly. Project Star Chaser, she murmured. Don't worry. Their scanning equipment isn't sophisticated enough to penetrate my personal shields. Should we be concerned? Not yet, though we might want to be careful at the barbecue. Their energy detection systems are primitive but persistent. They walked home under a star-filled sky, Ayla occasionally pointing out systems she'd visited. Ryan found himself less interested in the stars than in watching her face as she described them. The way her eyes literally glowed when she was excited, how her hair would start to float when she got particularly animated about a story. You're staring again, she noted, pausing in her description of a binary system. Can't help it, Ryan admitted. You're kind of distracting when you talk about space. Only when I talk about space. She stepped closer, her human disguise flickering slightly at the edges. Pretty much all the time, he confessed. The streetlight above them burst suddenly, showering sparks. Oops, Ayla said, not looking sorry at all. My control slips sometimes when I'm emotionally engaged. They reached the house, which had apparently sensed their approach. The bioluminescent vines were pulsing with welcoming patterns of blue and pink light. The house likes you, Ayla observed as they reached the porch. It's usually much more reserved with non-native life forms. Good to know I have approval from my own house, Ryan laughed. Then gathering his courage, he leaned in to kiss her. The moment their lips met, every light in the neighborhood went out. The Saturday of the Petersons' barbecue arrived with perfect weather and Ryan's mounting anxiety. He stood in front of his bedroom mirror, adjusting his casual button-down shirt for the 10th time. You're projecting significant stress signals. Ayla's voice floated up from downstairs. The house is getting concerned. The support beams are vibrating. Well, excuse me for being nervous about taking my alien girlfriend to a neighborhood barbecue, Ryan called back. Speaking of which, are you ready? Almost. I'm just finalizing my human disguise and calibrating the potato salad. Ryan froze. What do you mean, calibrating the potato salad? He hurried downstairs to find Ayla in the kitchen, wearing a summer dress that somehow managed to both look perfectly normal and slightly otherworldly at the same time. Her currently auburn hair was styled elegantly, and her skin had taken on a convincing, sun-kissed tone. She looked beautiful, if you ignored the fact that the potato salad in front of her was gently pulsing with a faint blue light. Ayla, Ryan said carefully, what did you do to the potato salad? Just a few minor improvements. She beamed at him. I analyzed traditional Earth potato salad recipes and found them sadly lacking in both nutritional value and mood-enhancing properties. So I made some adjustments. We talked about this, Ryan groaned. No alien enhancements to the food. But the Petersons specifically requested I bring a side dish, and you said I needed to work on fitting in. Fitting in usually doesn't involve bioluminescent mayonnaise. Ayla pouted, an expression that made the kitchen plants lean toward her sympathetically. I can dim the glow, and I promise it won't make anyone float this time. This time? Ryan pinched the bridge of his nose. What happened to observe and maintain cover? Technically, I am observing. I'm observing how Earth food can be improved with superior technology. She smiled winningly at him. Besides, your friend Mike said my enhanced bacon was, and I quote, totally awesome, dude. Mike also spent 3 hours convinced he could talk to squirrels. He could. I just forgot to account for the temporal translation matrix in the flavor enhancers. Ayla waved dismissively. The effects were completely temporary. Before Ryan could argue further, the doorbell rang. Through the front window, he could see Tom Peterson's distinctive red convertible parked outside. Quick, make the potato salad look normal, Ryan hissed. Ayla concentrated and the blue glow faded to a barely noticeable shimmer. There, now it just looks artisanal. Ryan opened the door to find Tom and Barbara Peterson, the epitome of suburban coupledom, standing on his porch. Barbara immediately thrust a bottle of wine into his hands. Ryan, we thought we'd pick you up since you're on the way, Barbara said, trying to peer past him into the house. And this must be the mysterious girlfriend we've been hearing about. Ayla glided forward, literally glided, until Ryan coughed meaningfully, and she quickly adjusted to a more human walk. Hello, I'm Ayla. I brought potato salad. Oh, how lovely, Barbara exclaimed, though her eyes widened slightly as she took in Ayla's ethereal presence. What an interesting dress. I don't think I've ever seen fabric quite like that. It's a special blend, Ayla said proudly. Self-adjusting molecular structure with embedded light responsive. From Europe, Ryan interrupted quickly. Very exclusive. Shall we go? The ride to the Petersons' house was an exercise in controlled panic for Ryan. Every time Barbara asked Ayla a question about her background, the answers got progressively more creative. Where did you say you were from again? Barbara asked from the front seat. A small island, Ayla replied smoothly. Very exclusive. It's not on most maps because it only exists in certain dimensional. Private, Ryan cut in. She means it's private. Very exclusive private island. Look, we're here. The Petersons' backyard was already filled with neighbors, the smell of grilling meat mingling with the sound of suburban small talk. Ryan helped Ayla carry the potato salad to the buffet table, whispering urgent instructions. Remember, no floating, no glowing, no molecular restructuring of food, and please don't mention anything about superior alien technology. You're very demanding for someone whose house needed my superior alien technology to fix that drafty window, Ayla whispered back, but she was smiling. Don't worry. I've studied Earth social gatherings extensively through your reality television broadcasts. That's exactly what I'm worried about. They mingled, Ryan introducing Ayla as his girlfriend from out of town. She managed to maintain her human appearance admirably, though there were a few close calls, like when she got excited about the solar-powered garden lights and accidentally made them pulse in sync with her heartbeats. Such primitive energy collection methods, she murmured to Ryan. With just a few adjustments, I could make them power the whole block. No adjusting the neighbor's equipment, Ryan whispered back. Remember what happened to our coffee maker? It works much better now. Time displacement is a perfectly normal feature. It makes coffee before we want it. Exactly. Much more efficient. Their bickering was interrupted by Barbara Peterson's voice rising above the party chatter. Everyone, come try this amazing potato salad. I've never seen anything like it. Ryan's heart stopped as he saw a small crowd gathering around the buffet table. The potato salad was definitely glowing now, creating interesting patterns when people stirred it. Ooh, it tingles, someone exclaimed. Is it supposed to make music when you eat it? Asked another guest. Barbara, you have to give me the recipe, called Mrs. Johnson from next door. My mouth feels like it's having a party. Ryan turned to Ayla, who at least had the grace to look slightly sheepish. You said you'd make it normal. I did. I removed the levitation properties entirely. The synesthetic taste-sound response is completely standard for my people's cuisine. She paused thoughtfully. Though I may have forgotten to account for human neurotransmitter sensitivity levels. Before Ryan could respond, a new voice cut through the party noise. Excuse me, is this the Peterson residence? Two men in suspiciously well-pressed casual clothes stood at the garden gate. They wore sunglasses despite the setting sun, and their posture screamed, "Government agent." "Oh no," Ryan muttered. "Project Star Chaser," Ayla confirmed quietly. "Don't worry, I've been masking our energy signature." "What about the musical, glowing potato salad?" Ayla's eyes widened slightly. "Ah, that might be harder to explain." The agents were making their way through the party, casually but purposefully moving toward the buffet table. One of them had what looked like a radiation detector partially concealed behind his back. "Time to go," Ryan suggested. "Time to go," Ayla agreed. "But first," she snapped her fingers, and suddenly the potato salad stopped glowing. Every guest who had eaten it blinked in confusion, their memories of the unusual side dish becoming fuzzy and indistinct. "Memory alteration?" Ryan asked as they slipped away through the Peterson side gate. "Just a small adjustment," Ayla said. "They'll remember having a lovely time and eating completely normal, non-bioluminescent potato salad. And the agents? Oh, their equipment will register some very interesting readings from the Johnson's cat. I may have temporarily enhanced its electromagnetic field." As if on cue, they heard exclamations of surprise from the party as the agents apparently discovered the now glowing feline. Ryan couldn't help but laugh as they hurried home through the gathering dusk. "You're going to get us caught one of these days." "Please," Ayla scoffed, letting her human disguise fade now that they were alone. Her blue skin gleamed in the streetlights, hair returning to its natural pink. "Their primitive detection methods are no match for my technology. Though," she added thoughtfully, "perhaps I should work on my earth cooking skills. Maybe start with something simpler than potato salad, like plain toast? Oh, I have some excellent ideas for toast enhancement." "Normal toast," Ryan insisted, but he was smiling. "You know, for someone so advanced, you're surprisingly bad at being subtle." Ayla moved closer to him, her natural form shimmering in the darkness. "Maybe I don't want to be subtle anymore. Maybe I like it when you have to rescue me from social situations I've complicated with my superior technology." "Is that why you keep accidentally revealing your alien nature? To make me play hero? Would that bother you?" She was very close now, her violet eyes glowing softly. "I think," Ryan said carefully, "that I'm starting to enjoy our complicated situations." The streetlight above them flickered as Ayla smiled. "Good, because I have some very complicated ideas about what we should do next." "Does it involve making any more food glow?" "No promises," she whispered and kissed him. This time, only half the block lost power. Monday morning arrived with a new set of challenges. Ryan sat at his desk at Peterson and Associates Accounting. Yes, the same Petersons. Small towns were like that. Trying to focus on spreadsheets while his skin still had a faint, residual glow from Ayla's latest improvement attempt. "Nice tan?" Sarah Martinez, the new account manager, leaned against his desk. "You're looking particularly radiant today." "New skincare routine," Ryan muttered, tugging his sleeves down to hide the slight luminescence. "Very intensive." Sarah laughed, flipping her dark hair over her shoulder. "Well, it's working for you. Listen, a bunch of us are going to happy hour after work. You should join us." Before Ryan could respond, his phone buzzed with a text from Ayla. "Your co-worker's pheromone levels indicate attraction. Should I recalibrate your molecular structure to be less appealing?" Ryan quickly typed back, "Stop scanning my co-workers. And no more molecular recalibration." "Ryan?" Sarah was still waiting for an answer. "Sorry, I can't today. I have house things." He winced at how lame that sounded. "House things?" Sarah raised an eyebrow. "You know, you've been very mysterious since you moved into that old place on Maple Drive. The rumors are getting interesting." "Rumors? Mrs. Peterson says you have a girlfriend who makes glowing food." Sarah grinned. "And Mr. Johnson swears he saw your curtains dancing by themselves." Ryan's phone buzzed again. The house was merely expressing happiness. And those curtains were very stiff. They needed exercise. Everything's normal at my house, Ryan said too quickly. Completely ordinary. No dancing curtains or glowing. Anything. Sarah looked unconvinced. Uh-huh. And this mysterious girlfriend of yours? As if on cue, the office lights flickered. Ryan's computer screen displayed a brief message. Should I come mark my territory? I've been researching Earth mating customs. No, Ryan said aloud, then covered by adding, no, nothing mysterious about her. She's just private. Well, maybe bring her to the office party next week, Sarah suggested. We'd all love to meet her. The temperature in the office suddenly dropped 10 degrees. Ryan's phone exploded with texts. Office party? With that female? Her hip-to-waist ratio is suspiciously optimal. I'm coming to this party for research purposes only, and possibly territorial marking. I'll think about it, Ryan told Sarah, while frantically typing, no territorial marking. After Sarah left, Ryan slumped in his chair, only to sit up straight when his computer started playing what sounded like an alien love ballad through its speakers. Ayla, he typed, are you hacking my work computer? Merely improving its functionality. Also, I've analyzed Sarah Martinez's social media presence. Did you know she won 3 beauty pageants in college? Her symmetry ratings are statistically significant. Ryan couldn't help but smile despite his exasperation. Are you jealous? Jealousy is a primitive emotion beneath my species' advanced evolution. A pause. But yes, I may be experiencing what humans call territorial concerns. You don't need to be jealous, Ryan typed. I'm already accidentally glowing because of you. Pretty sure that makes me officially mark territory. The glow will fade in approximately 37 hours. Unless you'd like me to make it permanent? No. Spoil sport. The rest of Ryan's workday was interrupted by various accidents. His computer showing pictures of him and Ayla whenever Sarah walked by. The office plants leaning away from Sarah whenever she approached his desk. And at one point, his screensaver became a complicated mathematical proof of why he and Ayla were genetically compatible. By the time he got home, he was both amused and exasperated. He found Ayla in the living room, surrounded by floating holographic displays showing what appeared to be Sarah's entire life history. Really? He asked, hanging up his jacket. Background checks? Standard protocol, Ayla said, not looking up from a hovering screen showing Sarah's college transcript. Did you know she got a B- in organic chemistry? Clearly not up to your intellectual requirements. Ryan moved behind her, wrapping his arms around her waist. Her skin tingled against his, making the residual glow in his arms pulse slightly. You know you're the only alien life form for me, right? Obviously, I've calculated our compatibility to 16 decimal places, but she relaxed into his embrace. I've never felt this way before. My species doesn't usually experience emotions this intensely. Welcome to being human adjacent, Ryan chuckled. We're basically walking balls of intense emotions. I'm noticing that. Ayla turned in his arms, her violet eyes serious. When I saw her talking to you, my molecular structure actually destabilized. Me, a being of advanced evolution. Is that why the office temperature went haywire? A minor side effect. She traced a finger along his glowing forearm. Like this was a minor side effect of me trying to make sure other females could see your taken, even in the dark. About that, my coworkers are starting to notice. Good, though perhaps next time I'll try something more subtle. How do you feel about pheromones that make other women sneeze? Ayla. Kidding. Mostly. She grinned mischievously. Though you have to admit, the glowing is rather attractive, like your inner light shining through. Before Ryan could respond, the house's alert system, another of Ayla's improvements, chimed. Project Star Chaser vehicles detected within scanning range, a melodious voice announced. 3 units, approaching from the east. Again? Ryan moved to the window. Sure enough, 3 black vans were slowly cruising down their street. They've been increasing their surveillance, Ayla said, suddenly serious. The energy surge from the barbecue got their attention, and she looked slightly guilty. Possibly the office temperature fluctuations today. We need to be more careful, Ryan said, watching the vans pass by. Maybe tone down the alien tech for a while? Ayla made a dismissive gesture, and the holographic displays vanished. Their scanning equipment is primitive. Though, she bit her lip, they might have noticed your glow. The glow that you said would fade? It will. Most likely. Eventually. She smiled hopefully. Think of it as mood lighting? Ryan laughed despite himself. You're impossible, you know that. Impossible is just a limitation of three-dimensional thinking, she said primly, then ruined it by giggling. But yes, I may need to work on my human impressions, starting with not making my possible mate phosphorescent. That would be appreciated. Ryan pulled her closer. Though I have to admit, it does make reading in bed easier. See? My improvements are practical. Her eyes glowed with that inner light he'd come to adore. Speaking of beds, I have some ideas for improving our sleeping arrangement's gravitational field. No anti-gravity beds. But no. Fine, she pouted. But I'm not promising anything about the sheets. They really could use some molecular restructuring. As Ryan kissed her to stop further suggestions of household improvements, he reflected that life had certainly gotten more interesting since finding an alien in his basement. Complicated, dangerous, and occasionally luminescent, but definitely interesting. Of course, that's when the doorbell rang, and Barbara Peterson's voice called out, "Ryan? Why is your house glowing?" Ryan stared at the glowing doorbell, then at Ayla. "Can you?" "Already on it," she whispered, waving her hand. The house's luminescence dimmed to a barely noticeable shimmer. Though we really should consider a more permanent solution to the Petersons. Before Ryan could respond, Barbara Peterson's face appeared at their front window, pressing against the glass. "Ryan? I know you're in there. The curtains are moving by themselves again." "What do we do?" Ryan whispered. Ayla's eyes sparkled with mischief. "We could let her in." "Are you crazy? The house is full of alien tech." "Exactly." She moved to the door, her form shifting seamlessly into her human disguise. Sometimes the best hiding place is right in the open. Before Ryan could stop her, Ayla opened the door. "Barbara, what a lovely surprise. We were just about to have tea. Would you like to join us?" Barbara Peterson blinked, momentarily stunned by Ayla's presence. Even in her human form, there was something captivating about her that made people stare. Yes, thank you," Barbara managed, stepping inside. She looked around the living room, where the bioluminescent vines had dimmed to look like ordinary houseplants. "I could have sworn I saw..." "The new LED system Ryan installed," Ayla said smoothly. "Very energy efficient. Would you like a demonstration?" Ryan watched in amazement as Ayla proceeded to give Barbara a completely plausible explanation for every weird thing about their house, somehow making alien technology sound like cutting-edge human innovation. By the time Barbara left an hour later, she was convinced they were just very tech-savvy millennials. "That was incredible," Ryan said after closing the door. "Simple misdirection," Ayla smiled. "Humans see what they expect to see, and now Barbara thinks we're just eccentric tech entrepreneurs." Ryan pulled her close, no longer caring that his skin still glowed faintly where he touched her. "You're amazing, you know that." "I know," she said playfully, then her expression softened. "But you're the amazing one, Ryan. You found me in your basement and didn't run away screaming. You've accepted everything about me, even the parts that make you glow in the dark. Well, you do make life more interesting." He brushed a strand of her now pink hair back, watching it float weightlessly around her face. "Though maybe we could work on the whole accidentally causing blackouts when we kisses thing. But where's the fun in that?" Ayla's violet eyes glowed with emotion. "Besides, I like that we affect the world around us. It proves this is real." Ryan pulled Ayla closer, mesmerized by the way her skin seemed to shimmer in the dim light. "You're right. This is real. All of it. Even the part where I make the house's molecular structure resonate when you kiss me?" Ayla's eyes sparkled with both mischief and something deeper, especially that part. Ryan leaned in, pressing his lips to hers. The house hummed in response, bioluminescent vines pulsing with soft pink light. The house approves, Ayla whispered against his mouth. Her form flickered between human and alien, control slipping as emotion took over. And so do I. They made their way upstairs, the steps lighting up beneath their feet. In Ryan's bedroom, the ceiling had transformed into a view of distant stars, another of Ayla's improvements. Are those real? Ryan asked, looking up at the swirling galaxies above them. My home system, Ayla said softly, or what's left of it. She waved her hand and the stars shifted, forming new patterns. But Earth is my home now. You're my home. The rest of the night belonged to them, their connection causing the house's systems to react in unexpected ways. The bioluminescent vines created dancing patterns on the walls, responding to their emotions. The very air seemed to shimmer with energy. As they lay together afterward, Ayla's blue skin glowing softly in the starlight, Ryan traced patterns on her arm. I love you, he said simply. Alien technology, glowing food, and all. Even though I make you light up like a Christmas tree? She grinned, touching his still faintly luminescent skin. Even then, he kissed her forehead. Though maybe we could work on controlling that particular side effect. No promises, Ayla murmured sleepily. Strong emotions tend to have interesting effects on molecular structures. They fell asleep under the light of Ayla's home stars, the house humming contentedly around them. The bioluminescent vines dimmed to a soft nightlight glow, keeping watch over their rest. Of course, that's when the Project Star Chaser alarms went off. Multiple vehicles approaching, the house's AI announced. Energy scanning equipment detected. Ryan sat up, instantly alert. How many? 6 vans, Ayla reported, her eyes glowing as she accessed the house's sensors. They've upgraded their equipment. Our standard shields won't be enough. What do we do? Ayla smiled, her form shimmering with power. We show them why it's a bad idea to interrupt a newly bonded alien's private time. The Project Star Chaser vans surrounded their house, floodlights cutting through the pre-dawn darkness. Ryan and Ayla stood at their bedroom window, watching as agents in tactical gear took up positions. This is worse than usual, Ryan observed, trying to keep his voice calm. A lot worse. They detected our energy spike, Ayla said, her violet eyes glowing with concern. Our connection. It created a signature they couldn't ignore. A voice boomed through a megaphone. This is Project Star Chaser. We have detected unauthorized extraterrestrial activity. Exit the building with your hands up. Well, they're not being subtle anymore, Ryan muttered. Please tell me you have a plan. Ayla's blue skin shimmered with determination. The house has defenses, and now that we're properly bonded, I can access my full capabilities. As if on cue, the bioluminescent vines throughout the house began to pulse with intense light. The very walls seemed to hum with power. Ryan Hill! The megaphone crackled again. We know about your alien companion. Come out now and we can discuss this civilly. Ryan's phone buzzed. Mike calling. He answered quickly. Dude! Mike's voice was panicked. There are government guys all over your street. What's going on? Remember that alien wife situation? Ryan said. It just got complicated. Stay put, Mike said firmly. I'm calling in reinforcements. Before Ryan could ask what that meant, the first flashbang grenade hit their porch. Time to go, Ayla announced. She pressed her hand against the wall, and suddenly part of their bedroom floor transformed into what looked like a liquid metal slide. The house will protect us, but we need to move. Through the floor? Trust me? Ryan took her hand, feeling that familiar warmth spread through him. Always. They slid through the opening just as the front door burst open. The house's defense systems activated, vines coming alive, walls shifting, corridors rearranging themselves. Ryan heard shouts of confusion from the agents as they encountered rooms that shouldn't exist and doors that led nowhere. They emerged in the basement, near Ayla's original pod. The capsule was humming, its surface rippling with energy patterns. Can we use it to escape? Ryan asked. Better. Ayla smiled. We can use it to show them the truth. She pressed her hand against the pod's surface. My people didn't just evolve beyond physical form. We learned to exist between dimensions. That's what the pod was really for. Not just finding a mate, but finding someone whose love could anchor us to this reality. Footsteps thundered above them. The house was doing its best to confuse the agents, but they were adapting. Suddenly, Barbara Peterson's voice rang out from upstairs. "What do you think you're doing to my neighbor's house?" "Ma'am, this is a federal operation. Please step back." "Federal operation, my foot. I know what's going on here. Ryan and Ayla are just innovative tech entrepreneurs. Have you tried her glowing potato salad? That's the real miracle." Ryan couldn't help but laugh despite the tension. "Is Barbara Peterson defending us?" "Humans continue to surprise me," Ayla said fondly. Then her expression turned serious. "Ready for the big reveal?" "What exactly are we revealing?" Before she could answer, Mike's voice joined the chaos upstairs. "Hey, government dudes, check this out!" A familiar blue glow filled the stairwell. Mike had apparently brought samples of Ayla's enhanced food to create a distraction. "Now," Ayla said. She placed her hands on the pod and began to glow with intense light. The basement filled with swirling energy patterns as she accessed her true powers. Ryan felt their connection surge, his own body beginning to shimmer with the same light. Through their bond, he could suddenly see what she saw. Dimensions layered upon dimensions, reality folding in on itself like an infinite origami. "This is what we are," Ayla's voice echoed in his mind. "What we can become together." Upstairs, the chaos had turned to stunned silence as the entire house began to glow, revealing its true nature. Not just a building, but a living gateway between worlds. The Project Star Chaser agents burst into the basement, weapons drawn, only to freeze at the sight before them. Ryan and Ayla floated in a sphere of pure energy, their forms shifting between physical and something else entirely. "Your weapons are pointless here," Ayla's voice resonated through multiple dimensions. "We're not a threat to your world. We're its future." Through their shared vision, Ryan could see the truth of her words. Her people hadn't died out. They had evolved into beings of pure energy and consciousness. But in doing so, they had lost something precious, the ability to truly connect, to love, to feel. Ayla and others like her had been sent not just to preserve their species, but to find a way back to what made life worth living. "The human race isn't ready for this level of contact," one of the agents declared, though his voice wavered. "Actually," Mike called from the stairs, where he stood with the Petersons and several other neighbors, "I think we're handling it pretty well." Barbara Peterson stepped forward, looking at Ayla with new understanding. "So that's why the potato salad glowed. And here I thought it was just molecular gastronomy." The energy sphere around Ryan and Ayla pulsed with her laughter. "In a way it was, just not the kind you're familiar with." The lead agent lowered his weapon slowly. "What exactly are we dealing with here?" "A love story," Ryan said simply, squeezing Ayla's hand. "Just not one you've seen before." The energy sphere around Ryan and Ayla gradually dissipated, though they remained connected, their forms shimmering with residual power. The Project Star Chaser agents stood down, their weapons lowered but not holstered. "Perhaps," the lead agent said carefully, "we should discuss this somewhere more comfortable, and less." He glanced at the still shifting walls of the basement. "Alive." "The kitchen," Barbara Peterson suggested brightly. "I'll make coffee, though." She looked at Ayla uncertainly. "I suppose you might have something better than coffee." Ayla's eyes sparkled. "I could demonstrate some improvements to your standard caffeine delivery systems." "No enhancements," Ryan said quickly, but he was smiling. "Let's keep it simple for now." They moved upstairs, an unlikely group. Federal agents, nosy neighbors, an interdimensional being, and Ryan, who still couldn't quite believe this was his life now. The house had settled down, though the bioluminescent vines continued to pulse gently, keeping watch. In the kitchen, Mike was already explaining to the agents about his experiences with Ayla's cooking. "And then the bacon made me understand the squirrel language for 3 hours. It was awesome." "It was an unfortunate miscalculation," Ayla defended, settling into her favorite spot by the counter. "The temporal translation matrix was slightly off." The lead agent, who introduced himself as Director Chen, rubbed his temples. "So you've been, what? Testing alien technology on suburban Americans through baked goods?" "More like introducing it gradually," Ayla explained. Humans tend to accept extraordinary things better when they come with familiar packaging, like glowing potato salad at a barbecue. It was excellent potato salad, Barbara added helpfully. Director Chen looked around the kitchen, taking in the subtle signs of alien technology integrated with ordinary appliances. And this house? A bridge, Ayla said, growing serious. A proof that different species, different dimensions, can coexist and enhance each other. My people evolved beyond physical form, but in doing so, they lost touch with what makes life truly meaningful. She reached for Ryan's hand. Love, connection, the simple joy of making food glow. And the energy signatures we detected, side effects of our bond growing stronger, Ryan explained, feeling Ayla's warmth pulse through their connected hands. Apparently, when an interdimensional being falls in love with a human accountant, things get a little energetic. A little, Mike snorted. Dude, you're literally glowing right now. Ryan looked down at himself. Sure enough, his skin had taken on that familiar luminescence where Ayla touched him. But this time, he didn't mind. The question, Director Chen said, is what we do about this situation. We can't just have alien technology freely distributed through suburban potlucks. Why not? Barbara Peterson demanded. Have you tried her apple pie? It hums in harmony with your taste buds. Ayla straightened, her form shifting slightly as she accessed more of her power. The kitchen lights dimmed, and above them, a holographic display appeared, showing multiple dimensions intersecting. My mission was never about infiltration or testing, she said. It was about proving that humanity is ready for more. Ready to understand that the universe is bigger, stranger, and more wonderful than you imagine. And what better proof than this? She gestured around the kitchen. Government agents having coffee with civilians while discussing interdimensional physics. No panic, no chaos, just acceptance. Director Chen was quiet for a long moment, studying the holographic display. Finally, he sighed. You realize I'll have to report this to my superiors. Of course, Ayla smiled. Tell them everything, including how a neighborhood of ordinary humans accepted an alien in their midst because she made excellent baked goods. And because she makes Ryan happy, Mike added, even if he does glow sometimes. The glowing is temporary, Ryan muttered. Usually, Ayla said with a wink. Director Chen stood, straightening his tactical vest. We'll need to establish some protocols, guidelines for the use of alien technology, and regular check-ins. Weekly briefings, Ayla agreed. I'll make snacks. Non-enhanced snacks, Ryan insisted. Mostly non-enhanced, Ayla amended. As the agents prepared to leave, Barbara Peterson spoke up. So, is the neighborhood barbecue still on for Saturday? Everyone turned to look at her. What? She said defensively. Ayla promised to bring her famous apple pie, the one that shows you glimpses of other dimensions while you eat it. Director Chen pinched the bridge of his nose. Perhaps we should start those protocols immediately. After the agents left, and the neighbors had gone home, though Barbara had to be practically pushed out the door, still asking questions about alien cooking techniques. Ryan and Ayla stood in their kitchen. The house hummed around them, happy to have things back to normal, or whatever passed for normal in a house with interdimensional technology and bioluminescent plants. So, Ryan said, pulling Ayla close, that went better than expected. Humans are remarkably adaptable, she said, her form shimmering with contentment, especially when bribed with good food. Speaking of food, he glanced at her suspiciously. The apple pie Barbara mentioned, just how many dimensions can you actually see while eating it? Only 3 or 4, Ayla said innocently. 5 if you have it with ice cream. Ryan laughed, drawing her in for a kiss. The kitchen lights flickered, and somewhere down the street, a transformer hummed in response to their energy. We should probably work on controlling that, he murmured against her lips. Probably, she agreed, but not tonight. Tonight I want to show you something. She led him to their backyard, where the bioluminescent vines had created a canopy of soft, shifting light. Above them, the night sky seemed to ripple, revealing layers of reality usually hidden from human eyes. What do you see? She asked softly. Ryan looked up, seeing through her eyes through their connection. The universe unfolded before him, infinite possibilities in every direction. But the most beautiful thing was right beside him, his alien wife, glowing with love and happiness. Everything, he answered. I see everything. The vines above them burst into patterns of pink and blue light, and in that moment, surrounded by the magic of their combined worlds, Ryan knew that this was just the beginning of their story. The summer sun shone brightly on the hill's backyard, where the neighborhood had gathered for what had become their most anticipated monthly event, Ayla's interdimensional barbecue. The bioluminescent vines had spread to create a stunning canopy overhead, their soft glow visible even in daylight. Ryan stood at the grill, expertly flipping burgers while trying to prevent Ayla from improving them. Regular beef, honey. We agreed. No molecular enhancement during daylight hours. Just a tiny adjustment to the protein structure? Ayla pleaded, her blue skin shimmering in the sunlight. She'd long since stopped maintaining her human disguise around the neighbors. Director Chen specifically requested the ones that let you taste colors. Director Chen also told us to keep things subtle, Ryan reminded her, though he couldn't help smiling at her enthusiasm. The Project Star Chaser agent in question was currently in deep conversation with Mike about the possibilities of alien-enhanced cooking shows. Their weekly check-ins had evolved into friendly visits, especially after Ayla had introduced him to her dimension-shifting tea. Barbara Peterson hurried over, practically vibrating with excitement. Ayla, dear, is it time for the pie yet? My book club is dying to experience the multidimensional Apple experience you promised. Soon, Ayla assured her. It needs exactly 47 more minutes to achieve optimal reality-bending properties. She paused, her hand moving to her stomach with a soft smile. Though my calculations might be off lately, my internal energy matrix has been a bit unpredictable. Ryan caught her eye, his heart swelling. They hadn't told anyone yet about their impending arrival, the first human interdimensional being hybrid. The house had been the first to notice, its systems becoming increasingly protective and nurturing around Ayla. As if on cue, the vines overhead shifted to create a natural shade exactly where she stood. The neighbors had grown so used to the house's sentient behavior that no one even blinked. Everything okay? Sarah Martinez asked, approaching with a drink. After the whole government raid incident, she'd become one of their closest friends, especially once she realized Ryan's glow was literally just Ayla's love made visible. More than okay, Ayla said, exchanging a knowing look with Ryan. In fact, the bioluminescent vines suddenly burst into spectacular patterns of pink and blue, the house apparently unable to contain its excitement any longer. Oh my, Barbara gasped, recognizing the traditional baby announcement colors. Are you? Ayla's smile could have lit up several dimensions. We're expecting a little one, the first of their kind, a bridge between worlds. The backyard erupted in cheers. Mike immediately began taking bets on whether the baby would glow, while Director Chen hurriedly made notes about interdimensional prenatal protocols. I knew it, Barbara exclaimed. The way the house has been acting lately, all protective and nesting. Oh, this is wonderful. Will the baby be blue, or glowing, or both? We're not sure, Ryan admitted, moving to stand beside Ayla. The scans show a perfect blend of both our species. The doctor was interesting to see something shifting between dimensions during the ultrasound. Dr. Chen has been very understanding, Ayla added, especially after I improved her medical equipment to handle interdimensional readings. The celebration continued as the sun began to set, the bioluminescent vines growing brighter. Ayla finally served her famous apple pie, which caused several members of Barbara's book club to briefly perceive the true nature of reality and unanimously declare it better than Martha Stewart's recipe. As their guests enjoyed the interdimensional dessert experience, Ryan pulled Ayla aside beneath their favorite spot in the vine canopy. Happy? He asked, though he could feel her joy radiating through their bond, making the nearby plants pulse with light. More than I ever thought possible, she said, her violet eyes glowing with emotion. My people sought to evolve beyond physical form, but they never understood that true evolution comes from connection, from love. She placed his hand on her stomach, where their child's energy created tiny ripples in reality. From creating something new together. The house hummed in agreement, its systems already reconfiguring to prepare for its newest resident. In the kitchen window, they could see the coffee maker spontaneously upgrading itself to handle infant formula. We should probably start baby-proofing, Ryan mused. Though I'm not sure how to baby-proof interdimensional portals. The house will help, Ayla assured him. It's already started converting one of the spare rooms into a nursery. Though we might need to discuss its choice of mobile, I'm not sure spinning galaxies are appropriate for an infant. At least the nightlight situation is covered, Ryan joked, gesturing to his still slightly glowing skin where they touched. Our child will never fear the dark, Ayla said softly. They'll grow up knowing there's magic in every dimension, love in every galaxy, and that home is wherever we are together. As if to emphasize her point, the vines above them formed a perfect heart shape, casting their combined light over the gathering below. Their neighbors, Anan, their friends, laughed and talked, completely at ease with the mixture of ordinary and extraordinary that had become their new normal. Barbara was teaching Director Chen the proper way to eat dimension-shifting pie. You have to let the flavors cross the space-time barrier naturally. Mike was demonstrating his squirrel-speaking skills to a group of impressed children. Sarah was collecting recipes for Ayla's upcoming interdimensional cookbook. You know, Ryan said, holding his alien wife close, when I bought this house, I thought I was just getting a fresh start. I never imagined that you'd end up with a blue-skinned wife who makes reality-bending desserts. That I'd find everything I never knew I was looking for, he corrected, kissing her softly. The streetlights flickered in response to their kiss, but nobody minded anymore. In fact, the neighborhood had come to see the occasional power fluctuations as a sign of good luck, proof that love really could transcend all boundaries, even those between dimensions. As the evening wound down, their guests departed with containers of leftover pie and promises to return for the next gathering. The house settled around them, its systems humming a soft lullaby to its expanding family. Ryan and Ayla stood in their doorway, watching the last cars drive away. Above them, stars twinkled in patterns only they could see, while around them, their home glowed with the light of two worlds united. Ready for our next adventure? Ayla asked, her hand resting on her stomach where their future grew. With you? Ryan smiled, pulling her close as the bioluminescent vines created a canopy of starlight above them. Always. The house's lights dimmed to a soft glow, creating the perfect ending to another perfectly extraordinary day in their wonderfully impossible life. After all, who said suburban life had to be ordinary? Sometimes all it takes is an alien in your basement to show you that the most amazing adventures can begin right at home. And as for the glowing, well, that was just a bonus feature of loving someone who literally lit up your world.